Hi, I'm Dr. Mark DeBrinket, and today I'm going to give you an overview of New Life Sciences. Now, before I start talking about the company and the technology and the products that they have, first let me explain a little bit about your vascular system. Now, most people think of arteries and veins and heart when we talk about the vascular system, and what they're not talking about is the capillaries. The capillaries are actually 99% of the surface area of your entire vascular system. And that's where all the magic happens, meaning oxygen and nutrients are delivered, and then metabolic waste and carbon dioxide is pulled out of the tissue back into the capillaries, only to return back to the veins. We're going to learn a lot about the capillaries today. Now, first of all, you have over 65,000 miles of blood vessels inside the human body. Now, that is absolutely remarkable. That means we can actually wrap around the earth 2.5 times if we line them all up. Now, what we're going to learn about today is something called the glycocalyx. The glycocalyx lines the surface of that mighty organ, and it allows it to actually function properly. So let me first talk about Dr. Hans Wenck. This is the one who has invented the technology called GlycoCheck. And this is a camera that can look microscopically at your blood vessels and determine the function of all the capillaries. This is truly remarkable, and this has been his life work. He has worked on this for over 30 years, and it wasn't until he met Bob Long that they were able to form the perfect combination. And I'll talk about Bob in a second. But Hans literally has published over 1,000 white papers on his findings of damaged glycocalyx leading to all sorts of conditions and diseases in the body. They have over 75 published independent review papers that also determine how bad the glycocalyx gets, leading to all these different conditions. So he had this patented back in 2009 to assess all the actual function of your capillaries. Then he met Bob Long. Now, Bob Long was the CEO of MyBodyRx, and together they formed MicroVascular Health Solutions. And together they also formed GlycoCheck. Bob Long developed a supplement in the nutraceutical that has also been proven to regrow that endothelial glycocalyx. So the two of them have been working together and had both their products patented, and they're currently being used in over 125 medical research hospitals around the globe. And with that, they've been cited in over 12,000 different studies based on the work they've done in helping us all understand what the glycocalyx does and how it functions. So with that, GlycoCheck.com is a great resource to go check out all of these studies and to learn more about this amazing technology. This technology is now going to be available in healthcare practitioners and doctors' offices all around the globe. So as a patient coming into the office, you're going to take this camera and it's going to record microscopic vessels simply by placing the camera under your tongue. And you're going to see a live video in front of you that shows you exactly what is happening in those microvessels. You can see blood flowing through all different size vessels. Now, that technology is going to take those images and literally make over 100 million calculations to give you your MicroVascular Health Score. Now, why is that important? Well, you're going to get a glimpse into your future based on how your health is right now. Too often, the first sign of heart disease is sudden death. Somebody just had a heart attack and didn't even know they had microvascular or vascular issues. So now we can see things long before you become a statistic and be able to change your course of action and create a healthier version of yourself. So as a patient, you're going to get 3 different reports. Okay, and each of these reports are going to give you so much information on what's really going on inside your body and how healthy are you truly and what does your future look like. And so let me take you through a few of these things that we're going to learn in the report. The first and most important thing is these cameras and this technology can actually record the thickness of your endothelial glycocalyx. And we can see where there is actual damage. Now, that glycocalyx forms these polysaccharide hairs that line the surface area of your capillaries and all your vessels for that matter. And they form a barrier, a protective coat, kind of like a Teflon coat in the pan that's protecting those very fragile microvessel walls. The cell walls that make up those capillaries are only 1 cell layer thick. So you can imagine how easy that would be to damage. So this glycocalyx is our protective coating, but it's much more than that. it allows the nutrients and the oxygen to be absorbed through it into those tissues, and then it'll push out the metabolic waste right through that glycocalyx with the thick gel that binds to it and holds it together. Now we can see through different studies that aging, genetics, stress, smoking, a variety of environmental factors are going to damage that glycocalyx over time. It's always the area where either there's no glycocalyx or very little glycocalyx that the damage is going to happen. Stuff in the blood could scratch the surface, then causing platelets and white blood cells to stick to heal. It can cause sepsis, which leaks, calcification behind the vessel. Regardless of what the condition is, all damage in the vessels happen when the glycocalyx is first damaged. So the second most important thing that we can see is the actual amount of blood flow through every size microvessel we have. Now the smallest ones are 4 microns in diameter. So we can see blood volume going through 4 micron, 5 micron, 6 micron. Well, why are the 4, 5s, and 6 so important? Well, at the end of the tunnel, a red blood cell, which is 7 microns thick, actually has to squeeze itself through those last 3 size vessels. When we see damage in the glycocalyx, the 4, 5s, and 6s are usually the first that are affecting our health the most. Because this goes into the densest tissue. The tightest, smallest tissue needs the 4, 5s, and 6 in order to bring oxygen and bring those nutrients. So when we see these vessels in a single file line and all the red blood cells are going in a single file line, now you know you've entered the 4, 5s, and 6s. And if we have damage here, it's going to cause the tissue to starve of oxygen first, and then the dysfunction. So we look at kidneys, we look at heart. These are 2 different organs that have very dense tissue and really depend on your 4, 5s, and 6s. So you're going to get a health score exactly on how much blood and how many of those vessels you have functioning right now in your system. The next thing we look at is what's called reserve capacity. Now, reserve capacity tells me how much blood do you have on hand when you put a load on your body, such as exercise, such as walking up the stairs, such as sports, such as cardiovascular. When we start putting a strain on our body, we go through that oxygen in the tissue much quicker, and it has a very good demand to get replaced fast so that I have endurance and I have strength. So when we lose that reserve capacity, we get winded easily and we lose our strength easily. So this is another very important factor to understand how healthy am I and what can I really do and how hard can I push my body when I exercise. The next thing we look at is called total blood volume dynamic. Now this is telling us how far does that blood get to the end of each tunnel, but also how much is being absorbed along the way. This is truly important because we can have a lot of blood moving through the system, but if it's not being absorbed and utilized, what good is it? So this is another very powerful aspect of your report to see how well your blood's actually working for you. Then we look at another category called total blood density. Now density means how many of each size vessel do I have functioning right now and bringing blood to the tissue. Now if you look at a tree, you have one big trunk and it leads to smaller trunks, to smaller branches, to smaller branches, to smaller branches until the leaf comes out. So by number, where the leaf comes out, you have more branches on that tree with a leaf on it than any other size branch on the tree. Well, our cardiovascular system is designed the exact same way. So we should have, by number, 4 microns, far more than any other size vessel in our body, and they should be functioning. So when you look at this graph, there should be a gentle slope that starts high on the left and slopes all the way down to the bottom on the right. When we see areas that have been diminished, this means that I just don't have enough of those size vessels in play functioning right now. That's going to lead to organ starvation and to many other complications. So typically on that scenario, if the far left, the 4, 5s, and 6s are very low, then the bigger vessels are going to be higher than they usually should be because they're pushing a lot more blood through the system to try to make up for the lack of blood that's getting to the end. This is the root and beginning of hypertension in the body. So as we start to heal and restore the function of your 4, 5s, and 6s, the larger vessels won't have to work so hard. Not only that, we can track your progress along the way to make sure all the lifestyle things that you're doing to help improve your health is actually working for you. Then we see a graph talking about that glycocalyx again. Now at the top of this graph, think of that as the endothelial wall. This is the cell wall that is the barrier in the vessel. Now, the orange bars that are coming up close to the top of that graph should never get higher than halfway up that graph. If they're getting too close to the top of that graph, that means that that size vessel has damage in the glycocalyx, and the blood in that size vessel is getting too close to the wall, and it's going to create problems and complications. So this is just a great tool to see how well is my system actually functioning. Now remember, prior to now, nobody's ever talked about this for two reasons. They don't have little instruments small enough to do procedures and operate on our microvessels. These are 200 times thinner than a piece of hair. And secondly, there was no way to treat them, because if they're not functioning, there's no drug you can give or no therapy or no nutrient that would actually affect that capillary if it's not functioning. We're only eating and absorbing what our blood can deliver to the tissue. So here's a list of several conditions that are early warning signs leading into a microvascular problem. And as you look at this list, I'm sure you can identify with at least one thing, many of you multiple things. And we just think that that's normal and that goes with aging. But it doesn't. It goes with lack of function of your capillaries being able to do what they're supposed to do and keep you healthy. Now, if you ignore these early warning signs, they're going to lead to other conditions. Here's a list of several conditions that we've studied in medical research hospitals and facilities showing that a damaged glycocalyx can lead to any one of these conditions that so many people deal with. So when we look at our declining health, it's a spiral. And the first part of that spiral is when our capillaries are functioning normal, we can maintain that health. But if they don't function normal, they stop delivering the nutrients. They stop delivering the oxygen. This leads to organ starvation, to muscle starvation, to tissue starvation. And then that leads to lack of function of those tissues, which then turns into complications of organs and systems in the body and can also lead to premature death. So again, so many things that can be avoided happen when we start focusing on our body's ability to have our microvascular system actually bringing blood, oxygen, and nutrients to our tissues. So we have an award-winning combination here. We have an amazing technology that can identify the function of our cardiovascular system in a way that we've never been able to take a glimpse at before. We can identify that damage, and now we also have a nutraceutical that we can take to help restore and regenerate those damaged areas of our microvascular system. And this one is called Endocalyx. Now, Endocalyx is an amazing product that has also been clinically proven to regrow our endothelial glycocalyx. This is an amazing product that in fact should be the most important nutrient you take. Because if our blood doesn't function right and our vessels don't function right, we can't get all the nutrients from our food and from our supplements and from our lifestyle to where it needs to be to take action. So this product was designed after studying all the blue zones in the world where people tend to live to be over 100 years old. And so looking at their diet, we've taken 7 natural plant-based ingredients, and they fall into 3 different categories. We have what's called our amino sugars. These are precursors to be able to grow the polysaccharide glycocalyx in the first place. Then we have the polysaccharides to contribute in the growth, and then the antioxidants to protect those fragile new hairs as they start growing up through the endothelial wall. So we have many studies that we've published in showing how introducing endocalyx into the body is going to help the body restore the function of those capillaries. Here's an example of a patient with declining kidney health. And you can see in the very beginning, his total health score was very poor. It was 0.6. And this is a scale from 0 to 10. 5 is your average healthy person. Anything above 7 is in our green zone. That's considered to be optimally healthy. And anything below 3 is in our declining health and sometimes critical stages. So you can imagine a 0.6 is not a very good score. But we can see after taking our endocalyx for 4 months, his score improved to a 3.9. And we can clearly see more function, more flow of every size vessel that we have in the screen. So this product was patented back in 2018 specifically because it's regrowing the endothelial glycocalyx. So we talk about an award-winning combination. 2 patented products. One of them can truly tell you the function of your capillaries and your system, and the other one can help restore the function of your capillaries and your system. And we can track the progress with this amazing technology. So we have other videos that can help you understand and learn about all these amazing products that we offer. But for now, I'd like to thank you for your time, and I hope you have a blessed day.